Here I'm going to show you how to repair the buttons in the WonderSwan game. This game has a notorious problem with the power button, and I'm going to show you why. Normal repair buttons or repair techniques don't work on this, and I designed a button repair specifically for that button, but the kit also does all the buttons. So to do the repair, what you need is a T-8 Torx bit. It's like the star-shaped bit, T8. You need some Q-tips, some isopropyl alcohol, 91% is best. You can get away with 70, but it has more water in it. Just be aware of that. You might need a sharp blade. You probably definitely need some good tweezers, Q-tips, and that should be it. So let's get right to it. I'm going to take the battery out and the cartridge. And we take the 6 screws out with the T8 Torx bit. Okay, once we got the screws out, just be aware of this little plastic switch that holds the battery in isn't held down by anything when we take the back cover off. And there's some clips up here. You might just kind of open it from the bottom side, or, well, it's the top side, and just kind of wiggle it a little bit and loosen up, and you take the back cover off. And now we need to disconnect the LCD display. In this clip, those 2 dark notches just pop out about 1 millimeter, and then this slides out. You might use your fingernail, or if you have a tiny screwdriver, you can just sort of very gently. You don't want to be putting a lot of pressure because you don't want to break it off. We just want to wiggle that out, both sides. Sometimes it teeter-totters and you have to go back and forth. There we go. So it just pops out that much, and then that cable will come out easily. Okay, and now the circuit board can be lifted up and taken right out. Okay, now the reason, here's the power button right here. The reason this goes bad is because this is not a rubber button design. These are rubber buttons, plunger rubber buttons. And normally your pads for plunger rubber buttons will be similar to this, where they'll be very close together, exposed contacts, and the rubber button pushes down and crosses those contacts, shorting it out, pressing the button. This was made to solder down a physical button, a clicky button that was soldered down. And same here, these 2 pads are for 3-position switches, tiny little 3-position switches. So they had designed this circuit board and then changed their mind and decided to go with buttons, rubber buttons, cheaper rubber buttons instead of the switches. But they didn't change the circuit board. This white coating is very thin, but if you look at it with a magnifying glass, you'll see that there is some thickness to this. So those metal contacts are set down inside the white coating, and then under that is a green coating. So it's quite a bit under there. And the rubber button, when it presses down, the rubber has to squeeze down into those little squares and to jump the electricity across. So it's a terrible, terrible design. It's obviously not intentional. They changed it halfway through. It's very difficult to fix because any sort of membrane or coating, again, it's going to have to squish down through those holes. My standard buttons would go over there, the membrane button, but the rubber button is just pushing down on the membrane, and the membrane's going down here. You can't squish the membrane down through the little holes. So my solution to that was to make a button with a cross cut out in the center so that each corner is going to press down in little squares. That allows it to flex and reach down into those holes and push it. Before you put the repair pad on, we need to clean the contacts with isopropyl alcohol. I have a little bottle here. Again, 91% is best. If you only have 70, you can get away with it. You just get the Q-tip wet and just clean off those contacts really good. Even if you can't see anything on there, there's some buildup, and that'll make the buttons not work as well. And when we get the membrane put on there, it prevents them from getting oxidized as quickly, but we want to make sure we get it all nice and cleaned off before you put the repair pad on. So that's what I'm going to start with to show you first. This is the special button just for the power. Carefully pull it off. Now there's a little bit of brown paper backing on the adhesive we have to take off. I can use my fingernail most of the time and get away with it, but some people have trouble starting the paper. So you might use a sharp knife or X-Acto. Just be careful not to cut yourself, just so you can get it started. And the paper will come off very easy. If you have any trouble, you might be splitting the membrane. This is a multiple layers of plastic. So if you bite the knife into the plastic or your fingernail and try to peel the plastic off, it does not come off easy because it's adhesive together. So just be aware of that. Now to line this up, it's really helpful to have some tweezers. And what I'm going to do is just very carefully line it up so that I can see the gold around each button. It's a little hard to do this when the camera's in the way. So you can see, I'll try to focus in here real close. You can see the corners there are all outlined by the gold. So that'll do it right there. Now you just want to lay it down. You want it to be as flat as possible. I don't want it bent or anything like that. So focus back in. So I'm going to put this aside and just concentrate on this. So the rest of them are pretty obvious. Here we've got a couple square pads, and that'll work on those two buttons, the sound and the start. We've got two little buttons over here for the, what is that, the A and B. And then we have two pads for the rest of the buttons, the X and the Y buttons. And those will go like that. And like that. Now it's the same deal. I'm going to peel off the back, the paper, brown paper backing. And I'll use tweezers to line it up. The X and Y buttons are one of the trickier ones to line up. We got a couple holes here that we have to be, concerned about. You don't want to put it over like this, where the plastic will cover up part of those holes. So I'm going to line up those 4 dots. I want the 4 dots all to be in the center of the gold there on those buttons. There we go. There's one. Do the other one. And then we've got the AB button. Okay, now we just got to put it back together. Make sure all these rubber buttons are put down correctly. And that plastic switch is there. So I'm going to flip it over, look for that contact, the plug for the display, and just lay the board down in there like that. And I'll carefully put that over there, and when it's all the way in, there's still some gold showing, but you can tell it's in there and it's got a nice straight line. The gold kind of lines up with the black tabs when they're open, and I'm just going to go and push those in like that. Okay, and then the back cover goes on. Oh, actually, while we got it apart, if you do have any trouble with this contrast, maybe the contrast is jumping up and down when you're not touching it or doesn't adjust well, Deoxys DL100. You could get a little bit of that in there and just squirt a little in there, cleaner, and then spin that back and forth, and that'll fix that right up. That's great for any variable resistors, knobs, things like that. Okay, so I'm going to put the back cover back on. And we got those snaps up on the top. There we go. And put the screws back in. Now that's all back together. Put a game in. Pop the battery on there. There we go. Oh, and look at that. I put the buttons in backwards. So, lesson learned. Check to see if those are correct. I think it'll still work. It'll just be too easy to hit the power button. Yep. So I'm going to take this apart and swap that around, but just the contrast, so you can see. Yep. So the button works very well. Turn it on and off. So yeah, lesson learned. You should check to see if that's correct, especially if you've taken it out, like I did to show you. But that's it. The membrane buttons should never wear out, and you should never have problems with that power button again. Thank you.